I woke up briefly in the middle of the night last night with a message from I don't know where, inside in my core, in the One. The message said, "We are ascending now." It said, "We are ascending now." In fact, we have been ascending for quite a while, but we are now coming to a threshold. And then that was where I fell back asleep, or the message ended. I don't know. But I want to know about the threshold. I want to know about the threshold that we are coming to, that we came to last night, in the middle of the night, while we were sleeping. In the middle of the night, of course, is different places around the globe. But in the middle of the night is a metaphor for while our physical bodies and our physical lives are turned off, there is something that is happening to the rest of us. And what is happening to the rest of us is that we are ascending. The we inside of our physical body, our soul, our multidimensional self, our great beingness, which enlivens and gives life to the clay earth vessel that we are wearing in this reality, that component of our self is ascending now. And it has been ascending for quite some time. However, we are coming to a threshold. So what do we do with this threshold? How do we know what it is? How can we see it when we're awake? When we are moving around within the physical world? And of course, we have not stopped being the being that we are while we sleep. But just as we are asleep to our physical world when we are sleeping, too often we are asleep to our real self while we are awake. So perhaps at the threshold, perhaps the threshold we are crossing is the threshold in which we are always awake. But then how do we sleep? How do we relax? Well, if we're always awake, maybe we don't need to. Maybe we don't need to sleep when we are truly awake. And likely, when we sleep, when we are awake to our higher dimensional expressions, we are awake in even higher frequencies of reality. Then we can access as easily while we are still being tethered to our physical reality. Yes, we are tethered. We are here, and we have tethered ourselves to this planet because we are the planet. We have had myriad incarnations upon the body of this planet, and we are one with the consciousness of Gaia. Perhaps the threshold that we are crossing is that threshold where we used to think that we were separate from each other, we were separate from the planet. Perhaps we are coming to that threshold where we know that we are one. There is no separation. We are a component of the planet. Therefore, we are a component of every rock, every tree, every plant, every animal, every bug, the sky, the water, the fire, and every person. Every person. We are not just one with the good people and with the nice people. If we are one with every person, then it's every person. So that means that everyone in our reality is a reflection of our oneness. And it has been easy for us to judge the dark ones who did those bad things to us and harmed us again and again and ruined our world. But we are one with them as well. And why didn't we know that they were ruining our world? Why weren't we paying attention? Well, many of us were paying attention, and many of us tried to stop the dark ones, and many of us died in that attempt. But of course we didn't die, we just went home. We went home so we could process. And in reality, what we think of as dying here, when we go home, it's a wonderful vacation in the fifth dimension and beyond. But just as we indulge in fights with ourselves, oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, what are you thinking? Oh, that was a negative thought. Oh, why haven't you done this? What's wrong with you today? Just as we indulge in that type of behavior towards ourselves, it is easy to indulge in that type of behavior towards others. It is a very big habit, and it is a habit that we need to release in our process of ascension. And yes, I'm feeling, I could almost say that I'm knowing that this threshold that we are crossing is that threshold of separation, where we are separate from those bad people, and we are separate from those bad things, and we are not separate from anyone or anything. If we are one, that means we are one with everything and everyone. That means that we can't blame somebody else for doing some bad thing to us and be sad and be angry and want to punish. We are one. They are just an expression of the reality that we have created for ourselves. And this, of course, is not something that we could ever hear when we were lost in the illusions of the third dimension. We would never be able to hear that. And the people who are still lost in the illusions of the third dimension would be quite angry if they heard this statement. Well, those are the bad people, and I'm the good person, and those bad people did this to me, and all I'm trying to do is have a good life. And that's true. At that level of the game, that is true. But those of us who are in the process of ascension, which is every single one, whether we are conscious of it or not, for we are Gaia, and Gaia is ascending. Every single one, even those bad ones, are in the process of ascension now. And every single one of us are crossing that threshold. And what we put out into our reality is what comes back. Now, those people that have put out fear and pain to others, that's going to come back to them. We don't have to worry about punishing them. They will be more than busy with looking at the energy they have put out, for it will be back upon them. And those of us who have been in the conscious process of ascension, we know how that is. We know because we have had that happen. We have noticed that we put out our fear and we linger on that fear a bit. And guess what? Congratulations, we created our fear. But now we are crossing threshold and we are not asleep anymore. And we woke up in the middle of our night to remind us we are ascending now, and we are coming to the threshold where everything we think and everything we feel becomes manifest as our reality. Now that is a very huge responsibility. That is a responsibility that we accept. We do accept this responsibility because we are willingly and openly and lovingly returning to our higher expression of self. Therefore, we are taking the responsibility of every thought that we allow to linger in our mind. We are taking responsibility for every emotion that fills our beingness and moves into our aura and finds its way out into our reality. Now, this means, of course, that we have to take good care of the vessel that we are wearing. We have to make sure that it doesn't get fatigued, because when it gets fatigued and it needs a tune-up, in other words, it needs food and it needs rest, then it starts rebelling and we start having thoughts that we're just too tired to take responsibility for. And we start having emotions in which we say things or do things or think things that we really do not want to manifest. So first, we have to realize that we are very, very important. We are Gaia. We are a component of planetary ascension. We have a great responsibility to care for our earth vessel, for we are transmuting it back into its true being of light body. Now, how are we doing this? Well, we're all doing it in our own way. And that is why we have to trust ourselves. And that is why we need to be in constant communication with higher expressions of our reality. However we do that, we need to know that we are not alone. We are not alone within our physical form, within our physical reality. Our physical form and our physical reality are transmuting very quickly now. And there are so many higher expressions of ourself that are helping us and guiding us if we listen. And so, let's listen. Let's listen to that small inner voice that we have to be still in order to hear, that we have to be quiet in our mind and calm in our body in order to hear that voice, to accept that guidance and to integrate it into our daily life. Yes, see the threshold? It's right there. We're all going to see it very different because that is the joy of being on the body of Gaia. We're all just a little bit different. So we all take our own picture, our own ascension process, and we wrap it up in a beautiful gift. And we take it into the core, into the middle, the beingness of Gaia. And we do this, of course, by going into our own core, into our own middle, into our own beingness, which opens that elevator shaft, opens that portal, and there we are within the core of Gaia. And we have our gift in hand. And we say, Gaia, this is what I give to you. I give you this gift. And I store it in my high heart. For I know that my high heart is one with your high heart. In fact, within my high heart is the oneness of all. And so I am crossing the threshold. I'm crossing the threshold into my high heart and into my oneness. In fact, I see that threshold right there at the end of my toes. It's right there. All I have to do is wiggle forward just a tiny bit, and I'm across. Am I ready? Am I ready to cross that threshold now?